What is goody, everybody? Okay, so now the NBA draft is going to be within 5 days, so it's about time. I just dropped my personal big board. Like, basically, who are the players that the Clippers should essentially take? So basically, like, I know a lot of people in the Clipper community, they be wanting to do a little too much, bro. They be wanted to, like, like, let's just say, like, oh, Trey for Rudy Gobert, or recently the homie CM, he dropped a video on um trading for a point guard like a Malcolm Brogdon, D'Angelo Russell, and this one dude I argued with, he wanted to trade Brandon Boston Jr. for Malcolm Brogdon. Are you fucking out of your mind, bro? Imagine trading a 6'7" dude with elite handles, bro, who has elite shot creation for fucking Malcolm Brogdon, who's a great role player, but that's just about it. You must be out of your mind. But anyways, like, the thing is, like, in my opinion, the NBA draft is really underrated, and draft picks are very underrated because there's a huge fat misconception that, oh, draft picks, they're not valuable after, like, the lottery, blah 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 blah, so just throw them away, just forget about them, blah 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 blah, which is, that actually annoys me a lot. And in my opinion, if any prospects are just put in the right situation, they would definitely be a pretty good player. Thankfully, me and my homie Clip Gang Don't Bang, we have the same mentality. I cannot, Clip Gang Don't Bang, if you're watching this, I cannot wait to see your own version of a big board. But anyways, let's drop some. Let's just get into this video about, like, the prospects who we should essentially take. So last video, well, the last draft video, it was like more like what the Clippers should do or not do. But this is going to be kind of like an extension to it. But this time, it's just a specific prospects that the Clippers should take. And there's like a mix of prospects that we should consider. We should, like, essentially target. So first of all, the first category is a realistic hit list. So basically, all these prospects that I just listed, they are pretty much projected to be like our area, which is like the 43rd pick. It's pretty low, but if we develop them right, they're definitely going to be a pretty good player. Just like a Terrence Mann, he was like, I believe, the 48th pick or 38th pick. I don't remember, but essentially one of those picks, a very low pick. Brandon Boston Jr., 51st pick, but he's looking like a prodigy already. But anyways, let's just dig it in. So first of all, Yannick Nazoza. Man, oh man. Where could I start with Yannick Nazoza? I literally made like a scouting video on Yannick Nazoza, and man, I'm pretty high on this dude, bro. Like, me and my homie Coop Gang Don't Bang, we're both high on this guy, bro, because this man, he's like your ideal big man for the modern NBA. Like, he does not have like much of the skills in his bag. Like, he has yet to prove that he could shoot the ball or shoot the mid range, but his IQ is pretty promising, and he is extremely athletic for a 7 foot big man. And it would be crucial in a lot of the moments because there'll be times when we face teams against the Dallas Mavericks or the Golden State Warriors, like, they could just simply take advantage of Vika Zubac a lot of times in our bigs. And our bigs, they're solid, they're improving year by year, they're above average, but if you want to, like, upgrade the big man, like, substantially, Yannick Nazoza is the perfect dude. Like, he has all the bag to be a good big man. Like, not in terms like, oh, the skills, but that'll arrive like within 3 years if the Clippers are smart enough to develop Yannick Nazoza. And best part about Yannick is he's only 18 years old, and with me, I always like drafting like the 18 years old, 19 years olds. And Yannick, man, like, the best part is he's a really good pick and roll defender. Like, let's just say if Lucas switches on to Yannick, Yannick is just gonna have a easy time guarding up Luka Doncic just because he's lightning quick on his feet. Or let's just say if you want to guard guys like Anthony Davis or Nikola Jokic or Joel Embiid, Yannick Nazoza, he could just match up pretty solid on them because Yannick is a really speedy, quick big man. Like, he's a really great shot blocker as well too. And the best part about Yannick is, like, if you don't believe me, just go back to, like, the clips I scouted on Yannick Nazoza. The first thing you know is he's at the 3-point line. and the next second you blink, he would be by at the rim and he would block your shots. So that is one huge factor that Yannick will bring to the Clippers is definitely interior rim protection and the outside protection. So Yannick, he would dramatically improve our defense. Now, how about the other things like rebounding? Um, he's not like the most perfect rebounder just because he's more on the skinnier side, but I mean, cannot be worse than you know our bigs because our bigs it's not like they're the worst rebounders. They would just have their swing factors, but Yannick, the defense, man, the defense is just gonna be really really beautiful. And of course, Yannick is not gonna all of us just be this superstar that if you just start Yannick, he's just gonna suddenly tear up the league. But he will lock up the league. But in his offensive bag, he could definitely work on it. Like maybe just like have someone work with Yannick to shoot some threes and shoot some mid range. But this guy potential is really sky high. But anyways, next prospect, another dude that I'm really high on, and thankfully he's projected to be our area, or maybe not, or maybe you may have to do some tweaks to trade up for this guy, and that is Dominic Barlow. So basically, Dominic Barlow is a power forward. He's pretty young as well too. I think he just turned 19 last month. He plays for Overtime, which is like a rising league for the young talent. It's kind of like essentially like the NBG league, but like a different name. So he's a power forward. He is very very versatile. Think of it like how a Robert Covington or a Nicholas Batum. Like, first thing you know, he could be guarding guys who are 6'8", 6'7". If the big is kind of weak, heck, he can maybe guard a big man. And the next thing you know, if he gets switched onto a smaller guard, Barlow would just do perfectly fine. And kind of like how Nick Batum would be, because like Nick Batum, he does pretty good when we played small ball teams like the Dallas Mavericks or the Golden State Warriors. And Barlow could be the successor of Nick Batum and Robert Covington once we get old. Well, I mean, once they get old, because our power forwards, they're all pretty old. And Barlow brings that versatility. Another thing he can also bring is he's also a pretty good playmaker as well too. He essentially like I said, he's like a Covington, a Nick Batum, or like a Mikal Bridges type, like a really great 3-and-D player that could definitely be pretty good for any teams in general. And yeah, he's like that ideal power forward for any teams. He could get rebounds. His 3-point shooting is rapidly improving, and the best part is his work ethic is pretty good, and his IQ is there, and he also is pretty athletic too. And essentially, he just has the upside. He has the upside, so that's another really good option for the Los Angeles Clippers. So Dominic Barlow and Yannick Nzosa. Now the next player, Musa Diabate. I believe he played I want to say Michigan or something like that. I forgot, but he played in college for sure. He's another like he's more like a power forward and a big man hybrid. So um, he's very he's very athletic, which means he can play pretty good defense, especially in terms of guarding the pick and roll. He'd flourish perfectly guarding like the inside and the outside. My bad for that little hiccup, but his defense would I mean the Clippers would benefit from his defense and his versatility. Like yeah, essentially his rim protection would be good because he's 6'10", and his outside perimeter defense would also be pretty good because he is quick and he definitely could defend outside. His 3-point shooting is pretty promising as well too. If you just leave him open, he would just knock it down. He's also known to be a pretty solid shot blocker, and he is actually pretty darn athletic too. So that is that. So he definitely has the upside. If I had to give a little play comparison, I'd say maybe kind of like a Jonathan Isaac, the dude from the Orlando Magic. Solid. He could play that defense, gets the job done. He just does his thing. Pretty solid player. and he's not too old. He's like I believe 19 or 20 years old. So he's in the average range of the NBA prospects. So he's born in 2002. So I think he's probably 20 years old. So that could be a definitely another solid option. Now another dude, and this is another dude who I'm pretty high on, and that is John Butler. Now John Butler, he's a 7'1". I repeat, 7'1", but his 3-point shooting is pretty darn good. He's like, I repeat, like I believe like approximately around 43% from the 3-point line, at least like from the college stats, like at least over 40%, just to play it safe. So just in case I actually get it wrong, like, but I swear it was like 40% from the three, and that is something for a 7'1" person to be able to shoot from the three. Now I know his sample size is not the prettiest. Like I believe he only played like the minimum of 12 minutes or something like that, and I don't believe he averaged like double digits. But my counter argument is look at Scotty Barnes. He himself did not average double digits, but yet he's tearing up the NBA right now. So that'll be a pretty good counter argument. So, but anyways, John Butler, I say he's more of a power forward. I would not. I mean, and for height wise, he should be considered as a center, but I would not recommend putting him as a center just because he is pretty skinny, so he will get crushed by every single like traditional big man. So you don't want that. You don't want that. So basically, he could be like a taller Nick Batum, honestly, because he just tends to stay at the 3-point line and shoot it a lot. He shows a lot of flashes of athleticism as well too. His shot blocking is actually pretty promising, considering that he's very frail. He's like, well, like I don't know. I believe like I don't remember his weight, but he's like 7'1", 190, which is, or heck, even like lower, like 170, which is damn. That is really low, and definitely the Clippers definitely need to try to bulk him up for sure. But like if used properly, he could definitely be a solid player. He may have a lot of risk just because he's skinny, but he has his skill. He has his skill, and he is extremely agile. Don't forget. So he would definitely do so good in guarding the pick and roll. Let's just say if he guard like a smaller guard, let's just say a Steph Curry or Kyrie Irving. So he'd kind of hold his own, and he's a big man, so he definitely could contest the shot pretty darn well. So another dude I'm pretty high on is John Butler. So that is that. So now the next prospect. Now this is my homies Cliff Gang and Don't Bang, one of his favorite prospect, and I do not blame him for that. But Trayvon Williams. Now this guy's a really old prospect. He's like a college senior, so he's already 22 years old. So he's older than guys like let's just say he's older than damn, who could I think of? Who could I think of? So he's older than LaMelo Ball, Anthony Edwards. He's probably the same age as John Morant. He's older. He's the same age as Jordan Poole. So he is a pretty old prospect. But Trayvon Williams, he's more like a big bruiser. So he has that really big, wide body. Like he's like I believe 6'10", 280. So or 250, I don't remember, but either way, he's a rock solid big man. So he's like the one who would punish you down below inside the paint. So you need someone to score a basket on the offensive side, just feed the ball to Trayvon Williams and he will crush you down low. Like, and also his playmaking is actually pretty impressive too. Like as a 6'10" bruiser, like that's one huge weapon to have is a big that could legit like play make pretty well. And Trayvon Williams just essentially brings that. And he's a pretty solid option. You cannot go too wrong with him, but I would not take Trayvon Williams over Yannick Nzosa, but he's pretty solid. He's a pretty solid playmaker. Actually, a pretty darn good playmaker. His 3-point shooting is actually like somewhat promising. Like if you leave him open, he could actually hit it to a certain extent. His free throw though could use some work. His defense, like, let's just say he gets switched onto like a guard, it would not go pretty if we're being honest with you. But he's a bruiser. He's a bruiser that could crush you. But like his style of play would definitely fit a lot more. Like let's just say if he like went to the NBA draft in 2004, he'd definitely be like a lottery pick. But since his game is more like on the outdated side, he's definitely projected to be like very low, or he might go undrafted. Who knows? But that's another solid option to think of. Let's just say if guys like Yannick, Barlow, or Butler is all gone, which I doubt that would happen. Now another player like, and I kind of recently learned about this dude with like I believe like a month ago. He played an NBA draft combine. Um, and it's Kenneth Lofton Jr. So this guy, he may have a lot of risk, but he has a lot of good upside. So first, let's get the risk out of the way. Um, of course he's very very big. So the thing is like he will be more on the, automatically be on the slower side. So that is one weakness. And two is he's a kind of like more of a tweener size. Like he's like 6'7", 6'8". So technically he should be like a small forward, but his skill is like a big man type, so that's a big con. But now let's get to the pros. So the pros is when he's on the offensive side, ooh, he will crush you. He will crush you and get the buckets. And two, he's essentially like a hard worker. He will do whatever it takes and just do whatever necessary, like get some rebounds. And three, his 3-point shooting has improved, so that is a big promising plus. So if I had to give Kenneth Lofton Jr. a really good comparison, is I'd say Zach Randolph, because Zach Randolph, he was also like a tweener too. He was like 6'9", so basically he was like a power forward essentially. And Kenneth Lofton, I see him as a pretty good he could be a pretty solid power forward. So and both they're more like on the slower big side. They don't have like the best athleticism. Like oh yeah, they're not gonna really like have like a highlight reel, but they get the job done. They got the job done. They're the type who would outmuscle you and everything. That would just try to get the job done. They'll be like a blue collar type player. Now the last person on the list, but actually it's not going to be the last person on the list because I forgot to put one person. But the last person that I typed was Patrick Baldwin Jr. Now Patrick Baldwin Jr. is a really fun wild card. Like he might be taken on the late first round, or he might just fall down all the way to us. Like this dude, like he's 6'10", but he can shoot the ball pretty good. But stat line does not really say so. But when he's on, he's on. Like he can shoot the ball pretty darn good, and his defense is pretty promising. And of course, his rebounding for his player build is pretty good. So he's basically like a really good 3-point shooter, really good rebounder. Defense is pretty promising. Efficiency could use a lot of work though. So because he had a really bad culture, so that's why he's dropping a lot. Reminds me of BJ Boston. Pretty familiar, am I correct? Now, if I had to give Patrick Baldwin Jr. a comparison, I'd say he's like a Kyle Kuzma because essentially they both like could shoot the ball pretty solidly. Both are like a solid rebounder. Um, both are 6'10", and yeah, basically like they play fairly alike. Or if you really want to take it on next level, is Michael Porter Jr. because again, same thing. He can shoot, very big, um, and he could kind of move the ball pretty well for a 6'10" person. That's that's a comparison for Patrick Baldwin Jr. If we take him, he could be like our new Marcus Morris but except even better because he could actually get rebounds and play better defense. And he has better upside, and he's actually bigger, so that's a big plus. Now, the next person I just forgot to put on the list is Isaiah Mobley. So the older brother, Evan Mobley. So Isaiah Mobley, he can shoot the ball, play some solid defense. Like he has some laps, but he can play some solid defense. He's like, I don't know, like he's kind of like a center and a power forward at the same time. could be a solid piece for the Clippers. Cool part is he goes to USC, so he's essentially not going to go far at all. So definitely going to have a familiar place. Could be a solid option, but that's only like an emergency. But solid player regardless. Now, next category, out of the range hit list. So essentially all of them you have to essentially have to trade up for them. So one of my biggest targets in this NBA draft, I'm willing to do a lot to get this guy. I'm willing to do a lot for Nikola Jovic and the last two people on this list. So first of all, Nikola Jovic. Oh my goodness. He is 6'10". He could essentially handle the rock pretty smoothly for a 6'10" dude. Like dribble all the way to the rack and just get a dunk or get a lay. Usually it'll be a lay, but he could dunk if you want him to, but he's very skilled. Very, very, very skilled. And this guy, he could legit play the point guard. His playmaking is, oh, it's tough. If the Clippers select Jovic and Nazoza, oh my gosh, I'll be so insufferable in the app. I'll be so insufferable on YouTube. Y'all will not hear. Y'all, oh my gosh. Just imagine we take Jovic and Nazoza. Man, you would be annoyed by me for a while. You will be annoyed by me for a while. Because, boy, that would be beautiful. Beautiful. And so essentially, he's like a point forward that can essentially do it all. He's a really good playmaker. His defense is pretty promising. Um, and the best part is he's pretty athletic as well too. He's not like Jokic, who's more on the slower side. Like this guy is athletic. So man, this guy, and plus he's projected to be like this. Now here's the thing: this guy's a wild card, so. He's projected like maybe around the 20s, but you never know. He could get drafted like a lot higher in the lottery. So that's why I said you're gonna have to prepare to give up like a really valuable piece to get Nikola Jovic. But if we do get Nikola Jovic, oh man, oh man, oh my goodness, because he could essentially play all five positions if you really want him to. He really could. But anyways, next player, Jaden Hardy. Now look, I really do not like taking like guards, but I'm more toned down with taking a point guard because just for the sake that we so-called need a point guard, which I disagree. I don't really think we like need to go crazy to get a point guard. I would rather go in the offseason just get someone cheap like maybe a TJ McConnell or heck maybe just even play Xavier Moon and Jason Preston some of the minutes. But but like but simply for the NBA draft, I prefer not to take a guard. But if it's like a really skilled point guard, I'm really cool with taking guys like Jaden Hardy or the next two person, Ty Washington. But Jaden Hardy, anyways, like he's listed as a shooting guard, but he's shown a lot of abilities that he could play make. Um, he had like more like an inefficient season in the G League Ignite, but that's just because he takes a lot of tough shots. But like his shooting percentage, like without like the with the open shot though, it was like 45%, so that's actually pretty efficient. But but people they just guard up on Jay Hardy because he was a monster coming out of high school. Like in Coronado, he averaged like what 30 points per game, and he dropped a whopping 8 assists per game, which is that is mind-boggling. That is mind-boggling. His assists dwindled down like to 4 assists per game for when he played for the G League Ignite. So but that was probably solely because like he was playing along with other playmakers like Dyson Daniels, who's another playmaker. So Hardy didn't assist, just went down. But if it matters, if you say hey Hardy play the point guard, I'm pretty confident that he will be a pretty good point guard as well too. So Jaden Hardy, I could see this guy become like a Jordan Poole in this draft class, like like slept on and and but yet, when you draft him, he could be a good bucket getter, and you can have him run the point guard. So, and his draft projection is like around the 20s. So you're definitely gonna at least have to trade Marcus Morris to get him, and I'm more than happy to do it. But solid option, solid option. Now the next person, EJ Little or EJ Liddell, depends how you want to pronounce his name. Um, He's a rock solid power forward. He is also like more on the older side. He's like a junior. He's pretty athletic. He's 6'6". His 3-point shooting is rapidly improving, and he's a like rock solid power forward. So I'd say he's like a Draymond Green without the playmaking because he plays tough defense. He knows his role. He's like that glue guy, but he hasn't really shown to be like an elite playmaker like Draymond Green yet, or who knows, maybe he is. I need to study him a little more. But if I want to like give like a more appropriate comparison, it'll be like a PJ Tucker because PJ Tucker, he's also 6'6", but he's a pretty strong power forward that can play that defense. So, and also he's pretty athletic too. So that's a big bonus. Like he's probably not going to be like a superstar or anything, but he's definitely that really good glue role player, and so he could be like a solid option. But I would not take him over like the craziest option, like a Nikola Jovic. Like if Nikola Jovic is available, just take Nikola Jovic. But Little is a pretty solid option. Pretty solid option. But I'm personally more higher on Dominic Barlow just because he's younger. But of course, Little's just gonna go way higher because he had a bigger sample size, and Barlow just had like a lot smaller sample size. But I'm personally more higher on Barlow just because he's more like taller and bigger. But that's just my opinion. Now the next person. Now this guy's the second point guard is Tata Washington. So Tata Washington, he plays for Kentucky, which is one of the elite programs. He's projected around the teens, probably like the lottery pick. So you're definitely gonna have to do a lot to trade for him. But he's probably not like my primarily. Oh yeah, I'm willing to go crazy for this guy. But if we do go crazy for Tata Washington, I'll allow it just because he's really smooth. He can shoot the three. He has a nice dribble package. His flow game is really beautiful. He's a pretty good playmaker. His defense is actually pretty promising too. Um, but the weakness about Tata is like other than he can may work on his efficiency. Another one is um, he can work on trying to be like more stronger and more like being of a really athletic player. But I believe he could be a pretty like good for any teams that would want a point guard. Like so, pretty much solid option, solid option. If I had to give this guy like a comparison, that would actually be pretty tough. I'm not gonna lie to you, but maybe like a really like a peak George Hill, I guess, or let me try. That's a good question. Actually, what is Ty's Washington comparison? Or maybe a Tyrese Maxey to an extent, or maybe an Emmanuel Quakely or a Bones Highland type player. Like, definitely a good bucket getter. Solid option. Solid option. The thing is, he's more of an older prospect. He's like, what, 20 years old already, so I guess less upside, but he has a bag in his town. He has that bag. Now, last two. Pretty unrealistic. Really unrealistic. But if you really get lucky, it will be beautiful, okay? It will be really beautiful, but pretty un- pretty unrealistic because some say they might even be gone by like the 10th pick. But if they somehow fall like maybe like to the 13th, 14th pick, like the Clippers could just do something really crazy and still like maybe snag either the last two or Jovic. But Jeremy Sohan, he would definitely benefit the Clippers on the defensive end. So he's a really good defender. And oh boy, imagine having like a power forward that could defend really good, who could essentially defend like all five positions. A big plus. A big plus. He's also a pretty good rebounder and has that nice high IQ. He dyed his hair like Dennis Rodman. I just threw out just to be dumb, just so you guys can have some laugh. None of y'all probably laughed, but I could really care less. But yeah, pretty good hard nosed defender that the Clippers would benefit tremendously. He could definitely help us right now, and definitely could help us in the long term once Kawhi and Paul George gets old. But I don't see the Clippers being able to get him just because he's probably going to be drafted real high. So probably not. Um, but yeah, 3-point shooting is getting somewhat promising. Like that's just his little weakness is his 3-point shooting. But he's a pretty good role player. Pretty good role player that could get the job done. Now, the last person on this list, last but not least, another really unrealistic list. But if we get Jalen Duran, oh man, because this guy is essentially like a Dwight Howard. So he's basically 6'11". He's extremely athletic, extremely athletic. He's also a really good rebounder too. So that is a nice. That'll be a dream for the Clippers to just get a really strong big man like Jalen Duran. But his weakness is he can't really space the floor that well. He's more of a type of big that will fit more in the 2000s, but he could in theory fit right now because his athleticism can make up a lot for it. So if he defends a pick and roll, Dart would just he would last better than like than some other bigs. So that'll be a really sick option, but I see it as a really unrealistic one. But I just threw it out there just because you never know. You never know. Now, third category. Let's just say the Met. This is only for like a really emergency backup. I would not recommend taking these guys as a primary option, just because like it's more like a position wise. Like a lot of them are point guards essentially, and I am not really big on taking a point guard for goodness sake. Like just because I would rather wait one more year in 2023, because there's a lot of point guards in the year of 2023. Amen Thompson, Sky Clark, Kaysen Wallace, Dior Johnson, and Jay-Z and Gortman, Tyrese Hunter. Like, there's a lot of point guards in the next draft class that could easily fall around like the 20s. So I wouldn't recommend taking a point guard this year, unless if it's Jaden Hardy or maybe Ty Washington. But first one, I spelled it wrong. My bad. Like the meh, can it work? But I would not say him as the first option is Dalen Terry. So Dalen Terry, like when I first learned about him, like when I heard one fan suggested him to go to Clippers, I was like, what the heck? He's like a wing. But I kind of like dig about his play. His playmaking is pretty promising. He is very athletic. So it's actually pretty promising upside. But like his 3-point shooting could use some work. But he is like an energy guy, like a really good energy guy, and he could in theory kind of fit the Clippers. But again, just for solely, I like to play the game of chess, and the chess game is next year. There's a lot of stacked point guards, so I mean, as long as if we're gonna take Derek Lively, then that'll be better. But still, like I would still just stick with getting a big man or a power forward, unless if it's Jaden Hardy, because Jaden Hardy is just as good as the draft class in 2023. But Dalen Terry, he could be like a really good role player, like a really good defender, and he could throw some good playmaking assist. But, but like his upside is like a really good role player. Like, but the good part is he brings that energy. But that's just my little profile on Dalen Terry. Next person is Jayla Williams. So this guy, he's a big man. There's another Jalen Williams. I forgot how it's spelled, but but this one is like the one I'm intending to talk about is like that dude from Arkansas, 6'10". He's a big man. He can shoot the ball. He gets the job done essentially. But the thing is, like, he's not like he doesn't like really stand out to me. Like he just shows as a typical big man. So like these types of guys, like they can shoot the ball, but like could they actually be a really elite player in the NBA, or will they just be another Daniel Turer? Because remember, Daniel Turer, when he came out of Minnesota, we thought that, oh yeah, he could be a steal and all that, but when he became an NBA, he didn't get the chance. Or some say he might be a bust, but it was kind of a little bit kind of both. But so yeah, that's kind of like the problem with like these two bigs, Jalen Williams and Orlando Robinson. Like the thing is, The key weakness is like more like their athleticism. Like they don't have like any insanely impressive athleticism. I mean, I'm not saying they're not athletic. I mean, they're in the NBA draft for a reason. Of course, everybody is in theory athletic, but I'm just saying like that could be a risk. And Orlando Robinson, same reason for Jalen Williams. He's a pretty good shooter, um, good rebounder. Defense though, he may get. It's a kind of like a wild card. Could he get killed in a pick and roll, or he would do really good in a pick and roll? I need to like those people that can work hitless. Like it's just more like it's a mixture of could they work out, or maybe I just need to study them more. So maybe I just need to study them more. But like from what I heard from scouting reports, is his athleticism is not like the prettiest. Like not the oh shoot he just post draw someone. Like they don't really have that in their bag. Nor like they don't stand out in terms of the skill set. Like for example, Nikola Jovic could just throw like crazy dimes, but Orlando Robinson, he just gets the job done. Shoot threes, do typical big man things. So you don't know if he's definitely gonna be like a Miles Turner, or he's gonna be star, or you don't know if he's gonna be a Daniel Oturu or um a what's his name? I forgot. Willie Cauley-Stein, yeah, Willie Cauley-Stein, or a Dragon Bender. So that's the thing. But I can easily be wrong. I can easily be wrong. Hindsight is 2020. Now next one, Jan Montero. So Jan Montero, he's a point guard. He's a really good scorer. He has the handles. He can get the buckets. He can pass the ball pretty solid. He actually has the upside. So if we take him, like assuming all my targets are gone, I could allow it. He's also pretty young too, so that's the best part. Born in 2003, like a really good bucket getter. But I heard he got injured, so and the Clippers they tend to deal with a lot of injury prone, and our health staff is just not the prettiest. So that's like the swing factor. But Jan Montero, that could be a pretty solid option. JD Davison, um, he's a very athletic point guard, really unselfish, and very athletic. Plays the defense. Um, but the thing is, like his shooting could kind of use some work, but he's shown capabilities of shooting threes. Um, he is pretty turnover prone, and his favorite player is Russell Westbrook. So let's hope he does not play like Russell Westbrook, and let's hope he actually becomes a really good player. But anyways, um, played for Alabama. Like I said, solid playmaker, and he has a really nice dunk package. So that could definitely excite a lot of teams. So I could see him as a pretty solid role player. Or heck, if he develops a smooth jumper, he could be like a star. I mean, I don't really like dominant players particularly, so I'm trying to like be more objective. If there's a prospect that it's not my cup of tea, because you never know, they could be a beast. But anyways, now next category is just basically just take them, as soon as they're on your like option, just take them, just don't think twice, just take them, like basically just aka my favorites. So to be eligible to be on the just take them, like they have to be like projected around like the Clippers range, because like in theory I want to put Nikola Jovic down there, but you can't do it just because he's projected to be way outside your area. You have to make a lot of trades to get Nikola Jovic, so he's not eligible to be on the just take him list. But anyways, the three players that I would just like the Clippers to just straight up take them, like let's just say they're on the option, just take them. Just don't think of anybody else. Yannick Nazoza, come on, it's obvious. Anyone watching my channel or sees my comments, just take Yannick Nazoza. Don't think twice. If you pass up on Yannick Nazoza for like some mid players, I will probably flip out and I'll probably have a really big meltdown. Heck, if they maybe even take someone else that I like, but over Yannick Nazoza, I'll probably flip. Same with Dominic Barlow, essentially same thing. I would flip too if you pass up on Dominic Barlow. John Butler, essentially the same thing. Like if you just take just like a prospect that I just like but not like my favorite, I would still potentially flip out and you might just hear a meltdown from me. But yeah, those are just the take-ems. Just take them. Just take them. Just take him. Don't think twice. Don't think twice when you see these guys on the list, unless if you found someone that's really crazy, um like a Shadon Sharp or a let's just say Jaden Hardy somehow fell all the way to 44th pick. Just then okay, that's the exception. Just that'll be understandable. But other than that, just take him. Just take him. Just take him. Simple as that. Now the don't takes. Well, I don't really like listing particular prospects on like who to not take, but it's just a position. Just don't take a shooting guard or a small forward. Just please. Just please. Don't take a shooting guard or a fucking small forward. If we fucking do it, I'll fucking have a meltdown, okay? Unless if he could play like if he's gonna be this elite point guard or like if he could play the power forward pretty well, then okay, I'll welcome it. But just please don't do it because I see like a lot of like the Clippers media saying, oh, who should we take or who should we not take? I mean, who should we essentially take? And I cringe out on a lot of these lists because all of them are 3 years, 4 years into their college. They have the low upsides. They're shooting guards. They're small forwards. Like, man, I cringe out, bruh. Like I asked some dude in the group chat on who should the Clippers take. One dude said Caleb Love. I mean Caleb Love, yes, he had some explosive college moment, but he's more like a two. And I mean, could he be a good player? I don't know, but I don't want a damn shooting guard or small forward, bro. Like I'll just show you like the Clippers website, like their big board. And look at all this, bro. Keith Alama, Christian Brown, who's a shooting guard, Isaiah Brockington, Terrell Brown, Colin Gillespie, Javante McCoy, Jaquarian Smith, Jalen Williams, Lucas Williamson. Essentially, they're all shooting guards, and they're all incredibly old prospect. Ugh. No. No, I don't want any of these guys. I mean, Jaquarius Smith may be the exception, but he's not in this draft class. But he's a point guard. But no, I don't want a shooting guard, bruh. I don't want a shooting guard or a small forward because it's gonna cause a fat log jam. It's just going to cause a log jam, and we just essentially wasted the pick. We just essentially wasted the pick. And then the Clips are just going to be more prone on doing something really stupid, like trade Jay Scrubber, Brandon Baldwin Jr. Ugh. No. No. I don't want any of these guys on the list, bro. They're all freaking, like, old or something like that, bro. And they're like shooting guards and small forwards. I don't want any of them. I only want a power forward or a big man. Simple as that. No. No. Alright, then. So, next slides, I'm just going to show you some trade suggestions that the Clippers could do. Like, and then, next slide, anyways. So, one thing that the Clippers could do is just trade Marcus Morris for the 23rd draft pick. So, the 23rd draft pick, you can get guys like EJ Liddell or Jaden Hardy, which is two really good options for the Clippers. Or if we get really lucky, Nikola Jovic. But Jovic, he may fall like before the 23rd pick, so you never know. So the Sixers, they get more shot creation, they get more of the buckets, and the Clippers get a really good athletic power forward, or a really skilled guard in Jaden Hardy, who's a walking bucket, but at the same time, he's a pretty good playmaker. And then the Sixers just dump like some other players to the Indiana Pacers for like, and the Clippers and the Sixers, we just made an agreement to share our second round picks to the Pacers, for taking all these, contracts. And the Clippers get the long term prospect that would definitely benefit the Clippers big time. And when we trade Marcus Morris, we free minutes for other guys like Rocco, Brandon Boston, all these other players. So that is like more like a realistic trade that I would suggest, like, because Marcus Morris, he's up in age and his trade value is pretty high. So yeah, that's a pretty solid option, pretty good option actually. Now the second trade. Now this is probably you might have to have a strong stomach for this because he is a pretty like a really good player. But I'd be willing to move him just because we have so many skilled shooting guards, and you're gonna get so much trade value in return. And this is this trade. So Luke Kennard, I know he's a very efficient shooter. He is lightning efficient from the shooter, like one of the best 3-point shooters in the league. I know this would probably sting, and I'm not gonna lie, like it'll be it'll be more on the tougher side because we know Luke Kennard is so nice and efficient at shooting threes. I know like probably 60% of the Clippers fan would probably disagree with this, and I totally understand. And yeah, I did slept on him like a year or two ago, but I mean like this pick could get us guys like Nikola Jovic or heck, if lucky, Jalen Duran or Jeremy Sohan. That would help the Clippers tremendously. And the Clippers get more draft capital, which could help us trade up in the 2023 NBA draft. And the Cavs, they would benefit tremendously in terms of the shooting because the Cavs, they need a shooter. They need a really good shooter. And Luke Kennard would just provide so much of that. And then the Washington Wizards, well, it's not really like a trade. It's just Sexton. He just signed somewhere else just because the Cavs are so much clogged in the cap space. And Sexton, he wants the green dollar. And Sexton, I really see him becoming a Washington Wizard because, you know, the Wizards essentially they don't really have a point guard. They only have Ish Smith as their point guard. And nah. And Sexton could provide that perfect scoring punch with Bradley Beal and Kristaps Porzingis. So that is that. So let me know what you think about these two trades. Like, I know you're probably not gonna like the Luke Kennard one, but hey, at least it's better than trading Brandon Boston Jr. But Luke Kennard, he is a really good sniper, and like, yeah, it's pretty tough. But if you really think about it, we have so much shooting guard. Now, if we don't really have much shooting guard, then Luke Kennard would definitely be up in my untouchables. But we just have so much shooting guards that are in front of him and behind him. Like we have Norman Powell, but then we have Brandon Boston Jr. If you want to list him as a 2, I would personally be okay with listing him as a 3. Or you also have Jay Scrub as well too. So that is that. But you're actually getting good value. Well, you're getting the 14th pick, and imagine we get Nikola Jovic, man, a 6'10" point forward. That would be pretty sick. But it'll be a tough pill to swallow. It is. It really is. But again, just let me know what you think about these two trade suggestions. But anyways, let me know what you think about my draft targets. Are there any more draft targets for yourself or any of that? So just let me know what you think about this video essentially. And be sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe. And as y'all know, go Clippers. Hopefully the Clippers draft appropriately. Just hopefully the Clippers draft appropriately. All right. All right. Peace, everybody.